Hi, my name is Holden Patterson. I'm a member of the Marquette University Applied Investment Management Program, and today I'm going to be going over my pitch for SSE. The U.S. over-the-counter ticker is SSEZY. The target price I'm pitching at is $24.47, and that represents an upside of 14%. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. So here's a little bit about the business. They're headquartered in Perth, Scotland, in the United Kingdom. They're founded in 1943, and they issued an initial public offering in 1995. What they really do is engage in the generation, transmission, distribution, and supply of electricity to their customers. And they generate revenue from three main streams: network, which represents 35% of their total revenue, retail, which represents 36%, and wholesale, which represents 29%. And currently, 100% of their revenue exposure comes from the United Kingdom. There's many things that played into my recommendation for this as an AIM international fund holding. First off, it's a storied firm that is making significant changes. SSE already powers almost 4 million homes across the UK, but they're currently transitioning towards becoming completely renewable sourced and adapting to societal and political trends to move along them to foster growth. And this has provided with them a better image with their customers and ability for growth in that renewable and efficiency segment. So shifting towards a period of growth, this is something that they're doing. They're expanding their international presence for the first time in company history. So right now, like I said earlier, they have 100% of the revenue coming from the United Kingdom. They're starting to look at different ways to approach their business and to expand to maximize profit and value. Secondly, they're building out infrastructure in one of the strongest offshore pipelines in the world. Like I said, they're in the process of a transition towards renewables, and a big part of this is offshore, so they're building that out as well. A little bit about margin enhancement and how this is played into my recommendation. Their gross margin CAGR is 34.2% over the last 5 years, operating margin of 31%, and net margin of 234.8%. So margins are growing, which is great to see. And as well, their ESG is excellent. They have a AAA rating, which is very hard to come by, and they're fully committed to the UK's goal of net zero emissions by 2050, and they're trying to insert themselves as a major player in achieving this. So this has impacted their recent shift towards renewables. All in all, it is recommended that SSE be added to the AIM International Fund with a price target of 24.47, representing a potential upside of 14%. My first driver for this firm is centered on policy tailwinds supporting growth. UK's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, recently announced plans to power all UK homes with offshore wind by 2030. If this is carried out, it would establish the United Kingdom as the world leader in low-cost clean power. Reaching this goal is estimated to cost around 50 billion British pounds, an investment and would quadruple the UK's offshore wind capacity to reach 40 gigawatts by 2030. SSE's current offshore wind pipeline is over 6 gigawatts, so 6 gigawatts of the 40 gigawatt goal is a 15% market share, and this could lead, and I believe will lead, to incremental revenues of 5.5 billion pounds through 2030. This is average out to around a 6% annualized growth rate for SSE in this segment. This gives confidence SSE will experience strong policy-backed growth stemming from their large recent offshore investments. My second driver is relating to the largest offshore wind generator in the world, and that meaning that this is what SSE is shifting towards. SSE has made a commitment to build more offshore wind than any other company in the world. This is shown by a few things specifically that have stuck out in the last couple of years. The first being SSE recently announcing plans to develop around 800 to 1,000 megawatt wind farm off the coast of Denmark in the next 2 to 3 years. Finalize investment plans to develop the Dodger Bank, Seagreen, Viking offshore projects, which collectively will become the largest offshore wind farms in the world. And finally formed a 50-50 joint venture to enter the emerging Spanish and Portuguese offshore wind markets. So a little side note on this, when I mentioned earlier about their growing international, this is the first time they've done it. This Denmark project and the Spain and Portuguese projects as well are kind of examples of how this is occurring. So finally, this provides more capacity to service their current customer base as well as ability to reach more new customers than ever before. So if they have a stronger pipeline and they have more offshore farms that they're powering from, they can reach more customers because they have the capacity to do so. My third and final driver is shifting towards a more cost-efficient future. So 2020-21 was the first year since 2005 that SSE's generation fleet contained no electricity output from coal. And this is pretty big because SSE, like I said, is a storied company. They've been around for a long time. But it wasn't until in the last year that they've fully cut out coal and they said, okay, we are really committed to focusing on renewables. So in the sense of this and because of this, they are building out their hydro and wind capacity, which leads to much higher margins, declining costs of operations, and all in all is very, much more appealing to society. Research shows that hydro and wind energy system costs are declining. It's becoming more efficient, so SSE's timely shift towards renewables will lead to improved costs, like I said, but it'll also enable them to capitalize on these rising efficiencies in wind and hydro as technology advances and it becomes more accessible for them to get into that space. Now, I do understand there's some risks there, but I do believe this provides a lot of value to the company and will help them transition into this period smoothly. So onto my valuation. How I valued this firm was three main ways. I used a discounted cash flow model, which was weighted at 70%. This was compromised using a WACC of 6.28%, a long-term growth rate of 1.5%, and all in all led to an intrinsic value for the firm at $23.55. Sensitivity analysis was conducted, resulting in a range of a high of $28.68 and a low of $17.72. Secondly, a price to earnings multiple valuation, peer valuation was used, weighted at 15%. Peer multiple of 20.76 was concluded on, which led to an intrinsic value of $25.92. Finally, an enterprise value to sales multiple valuation was used using weighted at 15% as well, and a peer multiple of 4.45 was used, which led to an intrinsic value of $27.31. So all in all, with these weights, this led to a current price target of $24.47. The current price is $21.41, which represents an upside of 14%. So risk. On to risk, we have a couple of key risks that I thought would be important to highlight. And the first one is energy infrastructure failure. So SSE must be able to continue to develop their network flexibility and infrastructure to facilitate these goals of reaching net zero. Weather, contractor, policy, other risks associated with entering these new markets might slow down their ability to build out this infrastructure and keep their momentum going and satisfy their customer base. Secondly, political and societal standing. SSE has made it very vocal what their plan is to fight climate change, and if they fail to stay on track with these goals, their reputation can be harmed, and the UK government is kind of relying on them as well as the citizens. So their reputation could deteriorate if they're unable to do this. Finally, fierce competition. This is, like I said, a pretty hot topic in society right now, and it's favorable with policy. So there's a lot of new market entrants, especially coming from some of these larger international oil companies. So this poses a threat to companies like SSE currently working on their renewable pipeline, because if they are unable to compete with some of these big companies, or maybe they can do this better or faster or more efficient, whatever it may be, this could deteriorate their market share and their growth potential. So the ability to shift towards hydro, solar, wind sources in a cost-effective, equitable, and practical manner will adversely contribute towards who comes out on top in this space. Finally, I'm going to talk about management. Their director and CEO is Altair Phillips Davies, and he has held this role since 2002. He has been with SSE since 1997 in various roles, including the Energy Supply Director of the Board in 2002. Gregor Alexander is the Finance Director, and he has held this position since 2002. He has a 31-year tenure with the firm. He is also a chartered accountant and has held various finance roles since he joined. So all in all, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you appreciated this presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email. And another thing I would like to highlight, I didn't want to forget before, is SSE also has a very strong dividend yield, currently sitting at 5.15. Did not really mention this too much earlier because of some of the drivers I focused on, but I think this is something that is important to highlight in your investment decision. So thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a nice weekend.